Welcome back. You're watching Notepad. I'm your host, Ibrahim Sani. What you just saw just now was some graphics that was done by the Department of Statistics. Fantastic people there. They are indeed chugging on, giving us the vital primary data that is required for us to know what is currently happening to our country and the world. But now let's focus our attention back to the political situation that is besetting the country. Prior to doing this particular episode, we've just gotten word that the one-day parliamentary sitting isn't a parliamentary sitting after all. After the speech by the Yang di-Pertuan Agong, that's it. No other event that is happening or scheduled for that day. This includes tabling motions, going through the first reading of some bills. None of that is going to happen because after the king gives his speech, that's it. Nothing else is happening at the parliament for that day. The next parliamentary sitting is of course happening sometime in July, far, far away from now, entering third quarter even. So one begs the question, what is happening to the legitimacy of this current administration? Are they not interested in seeking the views of the elected representative that the people voted in the previous general elections? What about the conversation of seeking supplementary budgets, stimulus? All these have to be answered by the current administration, which they currently can't answer because they're not seeking for the approval of the parliament. That is really concerning people and investors out there because when a country who claims themselves to be a democratically elected country does not use the democratic system to administer their country, can that country still be called a democratically elected nation? I don't know. We've never gone through this. What was also worrying was that there wasn't any explanation given into why the one-day sitting was called off. The explanation was absent. They didn't even bother coming up with a reason for this. I really want to know and pick the brains of the current leaders of the country and try to understand what's going on right now because as a voter and as a taxpayer myself, I really want to know what's going on in terms of using our democratically elected structure. There are 222 MPs, many of them are ready to ask questions on behalf of their electorates, the whole 30 odd million of us, but they are not given the platform to do so. So we'll leave that alone. We'll move on to other political issues involving the country. One of them is of course the change of government in Kedah. That's also an interesting story to mention because in Kedah, what is the status of the chief minister there, or the Menteri Besar there? Is Mukhris still the Menteri Besar of Kedah? Yesterday, the PAS Adun was talking about how Mukhris has lost the majority, not just from his own coalition. He has also received, of the 6 Adun, 4 is no longer supporting him. Of the 2 PKR MPs that has left the party, they are planning to join Bersatu. I'm not too sure whether they have, but the idea here is they will. And apparently they've gotten 23 add-ons from over 30 add-ons. So that's a lot of majority in terms of the opposition trying to rule the state of Kedah. One can also argue the Kedah ownership of governance is more of a symbolic nature because Kedah per GDP capita is actually one of the poorer states in the country. And they do not have an economic power might, say for instance, compared to Penang or Singapore or Johor. So the rule of Kedah is very much agriculture. It's very much focused on construction and mining and all the other stuff. So it's not necessarily manufacturing. It's not necessarily services. And therefore, to take control of the state of Kedah is a symbolic nature of sorts. But one has to also argue this whole change of government is really distracting us from the main issue, which is of course, to tackle the pandemic. COVID-19 is still amongst our communities. Of course, we've registered very low numbers very recently, 16 cases even on one day. That was 2 days ago or 3 days ago. Overall active cases is now down to 1,400 cases. That is interesting as well to note, because the last time we've hit this kind of numbers where active cases is about 1,400 cases was back in March, late March, about March 23rd or March 24th. Some of these numbers I did put up on my Twitter feed. If you are kind enough to actually look at the Twitter feed, you can actually follow the kind of active cases tracking that I put up there. But these are the real issues, you see, not wrestling for power, for economic power, economic might that might not be strong enough to actually speak of. So that is the kind of conversation that I want to have. How are we tackling that kind of crisis moving forward, and what are the legitimacy in terms of the current government and current administration in executing those necessary measures? Those are the answers that are yet to be solved. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll discuss a little bit more about the ongoings of the country and beyond. Don't go anywhere.